after I got baptized, that's when all the spiritual warfare came. And I started seeing all of these things happen in my family, and just the enemy trying to attack, to derail me. Here I am, I just gave my life over to Christ, and he doesn't like that, so he's going to try to attack me in my children, all which ways. And I remained obedient, following the scriptures, following that discernment that I was given, following my leaders, and walking completely by faith in that obedience. And yeah, and it was dark. It was very dark, and I felt like I was going in it blind. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel this way. This is what's coming out of me. And I want to leave.
Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to the Rush Outrospective, a Mastering the Art of Living podcast. There's a strange kind of freedom that only shows up when you finally let go of the life you built and surrender to the one you were born for. Today's guest didn't lose her way. She let go of her way, and in space where control used to live, clarity, peace, and divine assignment showed up. Dani Bryan isn't just a real estate agent. She's not just a photographer. She's not even just a servant in ministry. She is a woman who let the illusion die and in its place found a life that could actually breathe. After years of striving, Dani stopped performing for peace and started walking in obedience, the kind that costs you comfort and gives you vision. In 2024, she was baptized, not into a new label, but into a new language, one spoken through faith, trust, and quiet authority. This isn't a story about religion. It's a story about release. And it's what happens when a soul stops gripping the wheel and starts letting God ride the map. You're listening to the Rush Outrospective and Mastering the Art of Living. And I am Rush. And today we're stepping into the art of letting go with Dani Bryan. Dani, it's so awesome to have you on the Rush Outrospective and Mastering the Art of Living podcast. It's been you're probably like, whoa, what am I doing here?
Yeah.
Now we're off the camera. You're like, oh my God, this is my first time. And the reality is like I said before, like I said off camera, I'll say it on camera. What I really admire and appreciate about the journey you're on with Christ and your life in general as the head of your household and as a woman of faith and a leader amongst your children, it's kind of that secret that only you know if you know kind of thing. You know what you're looking at when you know what you're looking at, right? And God's going to present you the vision that you're meant to see. And for me, I really believe that's where you're at right in your life, and it's a beautiful witness, kind of a witness to the transformation you're going through. So I just wanted to tell you that.
Thank you. It is the biggest compliment because I've had a complete heart transformation, life transformation, and it started within. And I've been working on it for about 3.5 years now. And so for it to now have an outward appearance is incredible because I could not do that on my own. That's praise Jesus. That's the only way I could do it because I was stuck in my old ways, living life for myself, and it just didn't work out.
Yeah, I talked about walking in obedience, the kind that costs you comfort and gives you vision. Does that sound right? Like you were walking, you started walking in obedience? Is that true?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and what kind of cost is that for you? Like when you think of obedience, what does that say? What does that speak to? I guess that's the kind of cost that costs you. What does that mean to you?
So, I wouldn't have even known how to be obedient until I surrendered everything. So when I had my surrender moment, it wasn't hard for me to be obedient because of that moment. And I kept just reflecting back to my surrender. Everybody who has given their lives over to Christ, they have that surrender moment. They might have multiple surrender moments. This is my true surrender when I completely turned my life over to Christ and stopped living life my way, living His way. and I let him in. And so being obedient it's sacrificing that old mindset that I had, that I just thought was right, you know, like I know what I'm doing, but no, I'm not supposed to do this because the scriptures say, or because my church leaders have counseled me, very important to seek out wise counsel, that this isn't the way to do things. And so every time I was obedient and just went through the process, went through the steps, I would hit more breakthroughs and just different levels of achieving a kingdom mindset. And so I'm always obedient now. It's not even a struggle for me anymore. There's like no sacrifice. It's okay. You know, and maybe sometimes when I'm being obedient, I'll have this feeling of, oh, I wish I could do this, you know, and nope. And a calmness now comes over me, a peace comes over me. And so I don't ever pass up the opportunity to be obedient because I know what the consequences are.
Yeah, and that's important. Like, how much does you know, like the consequence, the fear of being disobedient? What does that speak to you when you think of how much does that play in your walk right now? You think?
A lot.
Yeah.
I don't fear man. I fear God. A very healthy fear, and I know how much that can derail you. Yeah. To fear man instead of fearing God. So obedience, Christ was the perfect example of obedience, and that's the walk I'm walking, and there's just no other choice for me. So I fear not being obedient.
Yeah. Where were you when you were at, what was the time, if you feel like sharing? I always say that everyone's suffering is sacred, whether it's mine or someone else's. Everyone has that journey where they're like, man, I'm struggling. I'm like in this struggle and the suffering and the surrender is such a sacred moment between you and God, and you yourself confronting yourself and God's confronting you. And so I don't want to step on anything that doesn't, because I think it's sacred, and it's also a treasure. If you share it, you know, it'd be that one person that needs to hear exactly that moment you were at your place of surrender. So if you feel comfortable, where were you? What was that surrender moment for you?
So my surrender moment, now I came from a broken home. I'm originally from West Point, New York, and my whole family is still in the New York, Jersey area, so I'm actually the only one in Texas. But I'll make a long story short. When I was about 10, 11, my mother went to prison, and to keep me out of the system, I was sent to Texas, where I had an older sister who lived here. She took care of me. We went to a very religious church, and I knew all of the rules, and I was so religious and obedient to, not to Christ, but to man and those rules, and specific rules that just became so, I don't know, detached, I guess, and that was a different kind of fear that I had. But I started to obtain some type of a victim mentality, and I would act out. Boo-hoo, woe is me. And then it just kind of followed me into adulthood, into everything, into my relationships, into my marriage, into, you know, having children. I've been blessed with 5 beautiful children. My first son passed away, and so that brought me to more victimhood and not being able to see the beauty in and the blessings from these burdens that I was carrying my entire life, not realizing that being sent to Texas was actually a blessing. So instead of just accepting all of that and just wanting to combat it and fight against it and that I don't deserve it, I ended up depressed. Anxiety, I had so much anxiety. It was chronic anxiety. There was so much medicine my doctors would feed me. And then I had all my children. I ended up leaving the church that I was a part of, as I felt like I could never be good enough. And religion just wasn't for me. And I just started to question everything. I started to question God, because how could I feel this? How could I feel this bad? And I didn't even know what I wanted at that time. And I spent a good 2 years going out there looking for it when my, kids were self-sufficient enough. And I went out and I became this party girl. And everybody just gravitated towards me. And it was just some entertainment life. And it was a temporary happiness. I don't even know if you would call it happiness. Whatever it was very temporary. But the more people that I had in my life, friends or whatever, the more insecure I was. The more depressed I was when I got home. The more I drank. And it was crippling. It was just crippling to who I was. It was, I was present for my children always, but I wasn't present. And so I feel like it was robbing them. It was robbing me of joy. Like I said, I started to question if God was real, and started, being thankful for the universe, and, not recognizing where all of this came from and where I needed to turn to. And so I became very, I don't know if it's angry or bitter, but after 2 years of just living this life, not feeling good every time I woke up, and I have nothing to hide. I am not ashamed. I have been forgiven, whatever my past is. If anyone's judged me on that, Jesus already dropped the charges. So, but I would wake up and just feel nothing but anxiety. Oh, what was my behavior like when I was so drunk? Who was I entertaining? And it just made me sick. And so I became just bitter towards everybody. And I wanted to cut everybody out of my life. I went into complete isolation. And I made a prison for myself in my room. I blacked out curtains. I stopped talking to people. I stopped replying to text messages. I just went silent. And there's beauty in that now. And that can take that's a slippery slope though. It can take a tragic turn. And the one thing I didn't let go of was my bottle of wine, because that was my comfort. And, drinking with friends and then drinking alone. I mean, that gets really dark and scary, but I started to force myself to get up and get out. And I didn't know why I had this desire to cut everybody off, but I did. And I was out one day in nature. I love being in nature. We have these creeks and these green belts behind our house and in our neighborhood and stuff. And I was out there one day with my children, and I went, and I'd been doing this for 10 years, where I'd explore the trails and the hikes and stuff. And I went up this cliff. And I didn't know how to get down, because this one was a new area, but I had prayed a prayer to God. And if you're real, and I'm gonna need you to show me, because I've been trying to lay my burdens at your feet, do what I'm supposed to do. I'm praying, and I'm still feeling all of this. I don't know how to surrender, because I thought I'd been doing it, but this is bad. This is crippling. And I want to feel peace, and I want to feel joy again. And I said that prayer, and then, I'm up on this cliff, and somehow I fell. Like, there was no reason why I could have fallen. No, nothing. It was so crazy. It was definitely a God thing, because it was like my foot just got pulled out from under me, and I'm going quick. And at that moment, I know what I'm about to hit. I just closed my eyes, and I couldn't even, it was so quick, I couldn't even feel fear. And so I just, all right, whatever's about to happen is about to happen. And then something yanked me. And I opened my eyes. Now I'm thinking I'm gonna die, I'm gonna be paralyzed, I'm gonna be mutilated somehow, because that fall is that's gonna hurt. And then something just stopped me, and so I'm, my feet are dangling. I'm suspended in midair. I still don't even know how. And so I'm like this, and I'm opening my eyes, and I don't even know what's caught me. I feel no pain. I'm just confused. I had a little axe in my hand, and I had my cell phone. Those are gone. And I'm like, what? I don't know if I'm just levitating, like really what's going on? And then I look, and there is a random vine that grabbed onto my arm. I still have the scar from it, and I'm just hanging there. And so I can't really feel I feel my arm. Now I feel the pain. After I see it, it is stinging, it hurts. And I'm trying to figure out, how do I get down? So I see that on the left, there are these dog leashes that are tied around some stumps. There's 2 of them, because people go up there and they'll use the dog leashes to climb up and then to climb back down. So I see that. I'm like, okay, if I could just get myself over there. So I kind of dig my heels into the dirt so I can, move over real quick. I've got my youngest son down there and my German Shepherd freaking out. I can't even hear what they're saying. But I reach over, I grab the leash, and I start to use both leashes and get myself down. And you ever get that ringing in your ear?
Yeah.
I got that ringing in both of my ears as I'm sitting down at the bottom, trying to process what just happened. Just ringing in my ear, both my ears, and I felt this presence come over me. And I'm not even thinking at this point, where did this vine come from? It could have wrapped around my neck. It didn't, wrapped around my arm. And the fact that it was a vine, how symbolic.
Yeah.
But I'm just thinking, what is this? What am I feeling? I felt peace. I felt loved, felt special. And I was there for about, it gives me goosebumps. It gives me goosebumps when I talk about it. But I was thinking, oh my gosh, I prayed. This is surrender. This is surrender, this moment right here. I did not even have time to feel fear. There's my battle at the bottom. And I'm going to have these battles, but that vine represented Jesus. He's always got me. And I might get some bumps and bruises along the way, but he will not let me kersplat.
Yeah.
And so it was just, it was wonderful to transition that thought process from there on out to, I don't have to focus on what's in front of me.
Yeah.
I got to focus on what's above me. I have to show up to the battle, but I do not have to fight. He will fight those battles. That's my surrender story. It's beautiful. On my social media, I go into more depth about it and show the pictures of the awful bruising. And I bruised like a peach. This was an awful bruise, and it will stay on me for a good month. It was 3 days of this awful bruise, and then it went away, which was even more symbolic. But it was definitely when Christ entered my life.
That is so it's so amazing. Everyone has their unique story. I shared a piece of mine just a few minutes ago before this thing started, and your story is so unique that that you're on this free fall, right? And God wasn't having it. He wasn't going to let you hit rock bottom. He wasn't going to let you hit rock bottom. I always say that you don't have to hit rock bottom. Rock bottom will come hit you, right?
Yeah.
Right.
That is true.
Yeah. Let me ask you a question. Let's see here. We covered a lot on my questions already in this story. No, this is great. No, this is so great, actually. When you think about the version of yourself you were building, what cracks showed up first?
You mean before my...
Before your salvation?
It was just combat. Everywhere I turned was something. Everything that was good that was presented to me, every time I tried to take it over and to move and walk with that, there was always a combat. There was always something.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't feel peace with it. I had no motivation.
Was trust? Do you think trust played a role in that? When someone presented you something valid and good, you were automatically.
I had no trust.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. I mean, I sat in the seat of offended so I didn't trust anybody, and nobody could say anything to me that I thought I needed to listen to, because I knew best, and I knew the world based on my experiences.
Most people fear surrender because they think it's weakness. I know what it broke in you, right? But what built in you? What was built in you through the surrender?
That trust. Okay, and you said that like the weakness part.
Mm-hmm. Most people fear surrender because they think it's weakness. But
Okay.
and the first question is, what did it break in you, and what did it build?
My independence, I guess you would say. How I thought I had it all figured out, and like I know what's best. And I did fear surrender because it does feel or look a lot like weakness. But I was talking to one of my leaders in my ministry about just that. Because I mean, I could retaliate better than anybody. You hurt me, I'm gonna get you back, and it's gonna hurt 10 times harder. It always came back on me though in the end, in a different way. But it's not actually weakness, it's meekness. And I love that she taught that to me, because Jesus was meek, and and in the scriptures it talks about how those who are meek shall inherit the earth. And that meekness is actually strength controlled. So where I lacked that self-control, it broke that in me. And I do feel a lot stronger now that I can contain. I'm not going to act on emotion. Like I can adopt the mind of Christ and know when not that I should fight back, because vengeance is his, right? But I know how to contain myself and be obedient to the steps that need to be made when somebody is trying to come at me for whatever, Yeah. I don't know if that completely answered your question,
I think that's really great. I think that most people, people who have the more the domineering personality types, maybe like you, me, other people, they would say the same thing probably. They would say, surrender is a form of weakness. You clench your fists, you never open them up, you're ready to fight if someone fights you, kind of thing, or you're looking for a fight, one of the two, and learning how to open your hands up and not having to fight, and praising God, lifting them up in the sky,
right,
is totally different than closing a fist. So it makes perfect sense that the meekness is having that, but at the same time, like you mentioned, is that you can have the spiritual strength to confront issues in a spiritual way, and that has mercy and grace and all those things involved into it too, but still the truth. Right?
Oh, absolutely.
Right, they say truth. I share this with you in truth and love, right? Kind of thing. I don't say this to harm you or hurt you. I say this in truth and love to see.
Right.
I don't want to see you go down a wrong path.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Tell me about. Let's see here. When did saying yes to God look like walking into the dark with nothing but your faith?
That happened right after my baptism, I would say, because I got hit. It's not easy following Christ, and he never claims that it is going to be easy. He tells you in the scriptures, like, you got to take your cross up every day and follow me. But after I got baptized, that's when all the spiritual warfare came. And I started seeing all of these things happen in my family, and just the enemy trying to attack, to derail me. Here I am, I just gave my life over to Christ, and he doesn't like that, so he's going to try to attack me in my children, all which ways. And I remained obedient following the scriptures, following that discernment that I was given, following my leaders, and walking completely by faith in that obedience. And and it was dark. It was very dark, and I felt like I was going in it blind. And I'm like, I don't know why I feel this way. This is what's coming out of me. And I want to leave. I want to leave. I don't want to stay here in church. Like even the worship music was bothering me. No, stay. Stay. And I'm like, and I was obedient to all of it. I knew, okay, I have to stay. I can't cancel going to church. I can't cancel going to this function. But I wanted to every time. And I just walked in faith, in that obedience. And every time I did, I had a breakthrough. I endured to the end of whatever that struggle was, but yes, it was definitely like blindly, and it was dark, but I'm like, all right, I'm going, and God never breaks his promises, so
yeah, that's cool.
Just moved me forward.
That's cool. Now we'll do a little scale here. We'll say habit self and your inner self. It sounds like, right, that the inner self saying, I gotta stay, I gotta be here, I gotta show up, right? Rate your habit self right now if you give it from from a grade of like strength and weak, like how much power does it have, still, or if there's any, like habit self graded from 1 to 10. What would you say your habit self is from where you were a year ago or 2 years ago?
Talking about my bad habits?
Yeah.
Well, before it was, I guess you would say a 1. Like I had no control.
Yeah.
I had all my bad habits.
Yeah.
And now I'm gonna say a 9.8.
Whoa. That's awesome.
Yes.
That's very cool. That's very cool. That's a good question. I think it's important because you can be honest with yourself, right? Say,
yes.
Hey, listen, I don't have these ways. My frame of thought, the way I frame things in my life, is not the way I frame them anymore. And it's beautiful to hear that you say that, because it means you're. I say, they say, redeemed, delivered, anointed. You've redeemed, delivered, anointed. And how do you know you're anointed? What do you think when I say redeemed, delivered, and anointed? Where are you in those three?
I'm redeemed. I definitely went through some deliverance. Okay, multiple times. And yes, there is an anointing on my life. I know what my purpose is, and I know what my calling is, and so that's where I'm at. Total game changer when you know what your purpose in life is. And so everything that has happened to me in the past, it now makes sense. I can see the blessing in absolutely everything because of that calling, and because he's had this plan for me the whole time. It's like, you think about it and you're like, oh, that's why that happened. Can't believe I was trying to fight that, So definitely anointed, and it's to help people. It's to be a servant, a servant for him. And that's all I want to do. And I think it's James in the New Testament, Jesus' half-brother, where he describes himself as a love slave for God. And that's me. That's me. And I just want to help people. I want to be the one that, I climb out of that fire, on my own with the strength of God. And then I come back with buckets to help everybody else. And that's what he has called me to do. And that's what I want to spend the rest of my life doing.
That's awesome, man. I got excited. I'm like, whoa, that's what's up, man. I mean, just to hear that, hear someone have that proclamation of themselves, is so a lot of people struggle with doing that, and they've been redeemed, delivered, right? They just don't know if they're the anointed ones, right? They're the ones who should be in the front leading, kind of thing, right? So it's so awesome to hear you say that with just such ease, some level, relative ease, but it's still a hard. You're ready to knuckle down and get in the trenches to help
absolutely
help save people's lives. Does fear sound like? What does fear sound like in your life, and how do you silence it when no one else is watching today? Like when I'm sure you still have some fear. We talked about that. On the days when obedience doesn't yield fruit, what keeps you from picking up control again?
The good word, the Holy Bible. You get in there. You get in there and you read that. You pray. You get on your knees. Sometimes I gotta do nose to the floor, and I gotta repent. I gotta repent for even starting to come into agreement with that fear of something.
Yeah.
And I just ask God to take over. Please take over. Please fill me up with the Holy Spirit. That's why discipleship is so important too, because you have to keep filling yourself back up with that, or else you can very easily lose it all. So it's the people that He has put in my life as well, these leaders, the leadership that I have in my life, and these friendships that I have within them, that hold me accountable. You know, the Lord confronts me in my sin, and I can admit to that. I was wrong.
Yeah.
I was wrong. Okay, I need to say a prayer. I need to get in the Word. I need to flip my mindset, because the enemy is trying to drag me back. And like I said, the Lord confronts me in my sin, but I have these leaders in my life and these friends that will hold me accountable and say, you know what, I see that you're doing this, and I see that you're coming into agreement with whatever it is, maybe bitterness. And the way that they say, I'm not defensive. You're right. And so in order for me to not pick up that control again, I give it to God.
Yeah.
Prayer and in the Holy Bible. Like that book.
Yeah.
If you haven't read it, you should read it.
What when you okay? So one of the most amazing things I see, and how do your kids, like, now that you know, they've seen a different version of you,
Yes.
right? They're saying like, who is this mom?
Yeah.
Right? Has any of them said, well, what's going on here? Like, bring my mom back, you know, kind of thing. Or my old version of my mom back, right? How is that? How has your journey with Christ impacted them?
To be honest with you, they're the ones that made me come to Christ. Now, I've got one that struggles a little bit, you know, he's a grown up, and, you know, they know everything, love them to death. But the younger ones, well, actually, the older one was the one that got me out of the religion, believe it or not. And then the younger ones, nobody is wanting their old mom back. Now, they love their old mom. They love mom at every stage, because mom is very loving. But he's 12 now, it's my youngest son. But years ago, he was just, I want to go back to church. I want to go to church. And he loved going to church. And I'm like, I'm not ever stepping foot inside a church again, so I don't know what to tell you. His teachers would take him to church.
Oh, wow.
So that got me thinking. And then, you know, when I got on this road, my children were happy, excited. They were feeling the Spirit. And, you know, I have one who's turning 17 next week, and he is an amazing child. He doesn't complain. He has a high calling on his life. I know that, but he feels the Spirit, and he comes to church with me, and he doesn't tell me no, and they love it. They're all representing Christ, and it's beautiful to watch. It's beautiful to witness. And my 9-year-old daughter, who, you know, she loves art, used to draw stick figures. I don't know if you saw that picture that I posted on my social media of her drawing of Christ. Maybe. It's like she woke up one morning and she started drawing these drawings that were in. I have goosebumps from it, but I'll show you this when we're finished. But she drew a picture of Christ. And I'm like, how did you do that? And so they're getting their spiritual gifts, right? Yeah. Way before I ever got mine. And so it's amazing. There's peace and there's harmony in my house, and it's beautiful. And I don't know, it's insane. It's incredible.
That's amazing. And, you know, okay, so what, okay, I want to go here first before I say.
Okay.
When y'all got baptized together, because I saw some pictures of y'all getting baptized, right, together. Yes. What was that? What did that? Talk to me about how that made you feel after you were done, and how they absorbed it, and all that.
I'm gonna try not to cry, but it was only supposed to be me getting baptized,
I might cry. Jesus. Jesus, don't make me cry.
I know. I was like,
Jesus.
This part does make me like a little emotional because it was just me because I was going through a program and it was called Freedom, and it was like my best friend's sister had invited me to it, and she couldn't have invited me to that a year ago, but she invited me to it, and so I was like, this family is really good to me. I'm just gonna go to one. It's this 12-step program, and I was like, I'm gonna go to one. I just told her I'm gonna go to one, and when I got there, I couldn't not come back to all the others, but I was getting baptized. I believe it was, the original date was December 5th. I don't know when I got baptized. It was beginning of December, but it was just supposed to be me. And when I told my children about it, they wanted to get baptized.
Oh, wow.
My youngest son said, oh, you're getting baptized? Can I? Because I'm really sad that I haven't been baptized, because in our, the old church that we went to, our old religion, you get baptized when you're 8, and he was so offended. And he loves God so much, and and I was like, yeah, you can get baptized. And then my daughter wanted to get baptized, and I was like, oh. And then I was so shocked when my 16-year-old said, heck yeah, I want to get baptized. He was like, I want to do this. And he's always, repping his cross necklace. And I just thought, I didn't have to convince them. I didn't have to try to talk them into that. A lot of parents have to do that. My kids were like, yes, let me do that. I want to come to Christ. And I was like, oh. So cool. We all got baptized that day.
Yeah.
And afterwards, they were so happy. And they're still happy. Yeah. They've got hit with their conflicts, but they feel strength in being covered in the blood of Christ. And they have changed certain things in their own lives, like the music that they listen to, the words they speak over themselves and other people.
Wow.
It's incredible, but it was only me supposed to get baptized.
Wow, that's so cool.
That day.
Like, you got me, I got tearful.
You did.
Because it got me, because I didn't expect to hear that, actually, number one, but it's just something about the purity of you said it was only be me, and then all of a sudden, like, I don't know, it was such emotional. You say you almost got tearful too, so I got tearful for both of us.
Thank you, because once I get going, I break that seal. It starts.
I think it's so cool. I think that's beautiful. There's some listening to who still, there's some that's going to be listening, right? Who are still white knuckling their pain, right? Or white knuckling their plan, I should say. What do you want to tell the woman who's afraid to let go?
It's because I was that woman. And now that I've finally let go, and I'm not saying you need to let go on top of a cliff. I would tell her to pray. And I know that sounds so simple, to pray, to cut out the things in her life that she knows is not good for her, that brings you places. Think about when you feel the worst in your life. What is that? Is that when you're out with some people, that one friend that's nothing but negative? Is it the negative words you speak over yourself? Pray for God to reveal himself to you.
Yeah.
And repent first, because he does love that. Repent for your sinful nature and humble yourself to it. Put your pride and your ego aside and actually say that prayer. And, even opening up your scriptures and reading it, because here's the thing, even if you don't understand the scriptures and you're white knuckling your life right now and your plans, and it's not working for you, open up those scriptures, because, and I heard this once before, and I think it was, I don't know, maybe it was Jordan Peterson, I don't know, somebody online, but it was talking about the benefits of a banana. The banana has a lot of vitamins and nutrients that are so beneficial for you. You got the vitamin B6, whatever. It's got some potassium. It's got vitamin A. Now, you can't see these vitamins, right? You can just see the banana, and you eat this banana, And you're getting you're benefiting from all of that stuff. So and it's the same thing with the scriptures. You open that book, not just listening to somebody else tell you what the scriptures say or preach the scriptures to you. No, you have to open it for yourself. And there are spiritual vitamins in there. Wow. And when you read it, you are benefiting from that, and it will drastically start to change your life. So prayer and scriptures, just it's so hard to. I mean, it's not that hard. I know it's hard to let go. Yeah. You know. Yeah. And it's just like when you tense up and you make whatever pain you're feeling 10 times worse, as if you were to just relax. You know. Yeah. It's the same thing when you're white knuckling your life. You just got to just say that prayer, even if you're not even sure about God. Yeah. Just be honest. He loves honesty.
Yeah. That's hard too. You know, prayer when you're suffering, right? Like it's hard. Let's see. I was thinking about the banana and the nutrients and opening it up. It is hard when you're in down and you know you're in your lowest low, right? When you look at your lowest low and where you're at today, what would you have told yourself back then when you were in your lowest low, like that it could have saved you a lot of time and a lot of, or maybe someone told you would have wanted someone to tell you?
So I don't have any regrets, and I wouldn't have changed anything. But I actually love that question, because the only thing that I think would have been beneficial, if I was even open to receiving it, is that there is beauty and that there is honor in suffering. In suffering is where God reveals himself to you the most. It is an honor to suffer. Jesus suffered. And when you have a moment of suffering, my goosebumps, really, because it's so powerful. Yeah. It's as if you were getting an invitation from Jesus to share in this sacred space. All over the scriptures, he is with the crushed in spirit. He is with the brokenhearted. He is. So there is honor in suffering. You can honor Jesus, and it's not a bad place to be. It's painful, yes, and we will have our sufferings, but it's not to be wasted. Yes, it's painful, but don't waste that moment and just, you know, submitting to the enemy and the father of all lies. Come to Christ. God says, and he doesn't say when you get it together, when you're no longer, you know, in this pit, then come to me. No, he says, return to me even now. Even now. And so to find the beauty and the honor in that suffering and to understand that you are sharing something that Jesus went through, it's so beautiful. Yeah. And it takes you out of that bondage and allows you to feel God's love for you. And I love that. And so I just think of that, because what is the worst kind of suffering? I think it's betrayal for me. It's betrayal and it's mourning. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did Jesus not suffer the biggest betrayal? Yeah. The mourning? He absolutely did. And so who would know better than Jesus? And we feel that and he reveals himself in those moments. Don't waste it. Don't waste it.
Wow. Danny, it's taking us this long to talk to each other, you know, to sit down and have a meaningful conversation about things that are really passionate about each, you know, in your life, in my life, and to see to get to know you, know the Christ in you, and to share this space with you today is such an honor. It was such an honor. It's such an honor to sit down and to see this the flowing river. You know, the river flowing through you and just cleansing and the washing of your feet and the quenching your thirst and you know, bathing you with blessings. And it's such a beautiful blessing to have you here on the Rush Outrospective. This is where I turn to my guests and I always say that there's someone in your life some people in your life that you want to say thank you to, or you want to give somebody by name. You got to say by name, and you give them a shout out. You thank them for something, or you affirm them who they are. So this is the part where I say, all my guests, give some people, shout outs that you really either want to thank them, or you want to affirm who they are in your life. And yeah, camera's yours.
Well, I do have a lot of people to thank, but first and foremost is my Heavenly Father. Because without him, I can't. I don't operate on my own, whether it's speaking or helping somebody and loving somebody. Second is my leadership in the ministry, and that's Tiffany, that is Karen, that is Valerie, that is Mother Ruth. I mean, there's so many people, and those who went through that program with me, and they didn't let me fall. And Emily, she was going through the Freedom Program with me as well. She's younger than I am, but I see so much of me in this young woman, and she's very, they're all very important to me in the roles that they play in my life. So I'm very grateful to all of them in keeping me where I'm at today. Our ministry is sealed. It's Sealed Ministries, and we're still working on it, and it's really just for the families right now until we tweak everything, and then we're going to open it to the public. But it's a beautiful place to be with beautiful people, and I want to thank my family because they've been so patient with me, and they have really guided me to where I'm at. So, and I want to thank you for having me on your podcast. I've never done a podcast before. I don't know what it's going to look like, and I'm probably going to watch it and be like, "Ooh, can't believe I said that. Ooh, did I even answer that question right?" But you know what? It's okay. I got out here and I spoke, and I'm grateful to you, and I'm honored that you were able to see the transformation from my party girl, depressed, let me have 2 more bottles of wine girl, to living my life for Jesus. So thank you.
You're welcome. You know, it is really beautiful to see the evolution of who you're becoming as a woman, as a child of Christ, a daughter of Christ. It's so amazing. I said, man, I gotta tap into what she's got going on, and we got to share this with the rest of the world and see the enthusiasm and the joy and the gratitude, the gratitude and the grace that you're flowing through now. And I think I will say, just privately, or not privately, I'm on camera. What do I say? But no, I will say that if there was one thing that really stood out, and it's weird that you went there. Like I saw you guys walking, you were hiking with your kids, and you went to that back. You said you had the back trails and stuff like that. I was like, that looks peaceful. It was like a peaceful experience, and I said, all right, I got to get this girl on the podcast. So,
yeah.
So I feel honored to be sharing space with you. It was an honor to hear your everything that's going on in your life, you sharing and emoting the beautiful. I always say it, when I sit here, it's like you're holding up a mirror to mine and to my life, right? It's not about me talking, it's about me listening. And every time I hear I hear something beautiful, and I can put it in my pocket, and I heard so much today. So I want to thank you so much for that too.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Seriously, I really mean that. And there's not, yeah. I'll just leave it at that. But guys, that is it for the Rush Outrospective. As I always say, have peace and light in you. Remember that the ocean refuses no river.
I like that.
Awesome. That was awesome.